Hello, and welcome to the Coach's Cup podcast. I am Sonya Green from Sonya Green Coaching. And today I'm excited to have the founder of Banish Business Clutter and fellow podcaster with her own podcast called Launch Perspective, Lydia Martin, with us. And
Yay, thanks
she's
for having me, Sonya.
I am so excited because you're going to tell us all about your journey with imposter syndrome, right?
Yes.
So first tell us a little bit about what you do now.
Sure. So Banish Business Clutter, we're all about helping people with digital organization, digital systems, digital tools, all with the purpose of helping people build profitable online businesses. So people who love to create courses, memberships, coaching programs, those are the sort of people that we work with, but we really just love helping everybody feel more confident with their digital tools and systems. I like to think of myself as a digital therapist.
I love that.
I help people with the stress and new tools to feel confident.
Yeah. Yeah. I am sure you are in high demand.
I love it. The only reason why I can say that is because it's not because I naturally had those skills, but I did a lot of those things incorrectly for so long
Yeah.
that I'm now able to help others because of the processes I've gone through. So definitely was not perfect about that for a long time.
Yeah. Failure is an excellent teacher, right?
It is.
The
It's
best.
really key. It is key to the whole process.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that I was curious about when I first read some of your information, you left a successful corporate business. You had been in the corporate world for a while and decided to branch out on your own. Tell us what made you decide to do that.
Yeah, so I actually did have my own home-based business from early on. I did a home-based direct sales business for 20 years,
Uh-huh.
and I loved the flexibility of that business. And so as I was in that business, I realized how much I loved coaching and training and teaching. And so at the end of that 20-year career, I almost launched then. This was back in 19, that's not 19, not that far back. This
It
was
would
back in probably around 2015.
okay.
Um, almost launched on my own because I wanted to become my own speaker, trainer, and coach,
Yeah.
but I was terrified. I thought, how in the world am I going to launch into this online space? Nobody knows who I am. How am I going to find anybody who's going to pay me for the things I create? So I backpedaled a bit and ended up working first for someone who was building their online business. From there, I went into a corporate training and coaching position. So basically, for about 5 or 6 years, I got to hang out in the safety
Mhm.
of a salaried position, because it was honestly in many ways easier, right? It
Yeah.
it felt like an easier jump, to have be paid by someone who was going to tell me what I needed to do and to thrive in that. But it was not my own, and it wasn't the flexibility and the freedom I wanted in my life. But it did take a good 6 years to get enough confidence and ability to finally let go of that imposter syndrome and say, nope, it's time. And no matter what happens, is going to happen. But if I don't do this, I will never know. So that's how
Yeah.
it all started.
You know, that reminds me so much of so many of my own clients because you're the definition of a high achieving woman. It's not enough to have just a job. You have to also have your own home business that you're working on, several things at once. And so I think that really
Mm.
resonates with a lot of the women that I work with.
Sure. And, there's a lot of recognition that you get when you're working for someone else, hopefully in your
Yeah.
position. I'm sure not a lot of people don't get any recognition, but when you're able to work with a team and with people and they're like, wow, you're doing a good job, you feel like
Yeah,
you're
that
making an
feedback.
impact. but you don't have the ability to create necessarily the lifestyle that you want. I wasn't able
Yeah.
to visit my parents who are aging and live many states away. I couldn't just drop everything and go spend 2 weeks with them. My daughter was off in college at the time. I couldn't just drop everything and go visit her. And my son was struggling in school and I wanted to homeschool him, but I knew I couldn't work a full-time corporate job and bring him home. So there
Right.
was just a lot of things that I was like, as much as I loved that corporate job, it was not supporting the lifestyle that I needed.
Yeah.
So,
So how did you finally overcome all of those obstacles in your brain and make that push? Decide, I've had enough. No matter what happens, it's going to happen, but
well,
I'm
it's so
doing it.
interesting. So for the years I was that corporate trainer and coach, I was helping other business owners overcome the same fears I was having.
Is that
Isn't
not how it
Isn't
works
that
most
funny
of
how
the
much easier
time?
it is
I know.
sometimes to tell someone else what to do than it is to tell yourself? So
Absolutely.
I mean, I literally was telling the people I was coaching, there are two main fears that hold us back: fear of failure and fear of what others think. And those two things, I would always say to them, what does it matter what people think? What does it matter if you launch something that isn't perfect? What does it matter if you invite someone to take advantage of an opportunity you're giving them and they say no? It's not against you. They're just making a decision. And I spent 3+ years in teaching this concept, and it finally hit me that I needed to listen to myself.
Yeah. I still have those moments sometimes. I'm like, wow, that I need to take that advice.
Oh, and the whole failure thing, I definitely came out of the womb a perfectionist,
Mhm.
and I don't know if that's a personality bent or something that's ingrained from your environment, your experiences, and maybe a combination of it.
Yeah.
But early on, I learned that somehow I made other people happy, maybe my parents, by being a high achiever, being first chair violin, by getting all A's. And,
Yeah.
this constant feeling of you've got to be the best to be worthy, to be accepted, to be happy. Somehow along the line that got ingrained in me, and it
Mm.
was not healthy. It
Yeah.
really isn't. I mean, none of us are perfect and none of us can do things perfectly. And what I realized, even in my home-based business where I messed up for 20 years, is I never did anything unless I was assured it would be successful. And that held me back
I was
for
gonna say, yeah.
even though I built a successful business, I could have gone so much farther and done so much more if I would have embraced the thought that I have now,
Mhm.
which is literally what I have embraced since I launched this business in 2020. And that is that massive imperfect action again and again and again is the only way to truly get to
Yeah.
what it is that you're wanting.
Yeah.
And it has been transformational for my life. I would never be where I am right now in just 3 years of launching this business if I had kept that mantra of, I'm not even going to announce anything until I know it's perfect and I know it's right and I know it's going to be
Mhm.
successful.
Yeah. No, I had a moment like that this morning because I posted something. I had something scheduled to go out on social media, and once it went out, at some point, I looked at it, and I thought, "Oh, I forgot that I told the world about that. And then I thought, "Oh, well, there it goes."
Well,
You know?
and that's so funny. I laugh at myself now because there are so many times where I'm like, am I ready to send this email? Am I ready to hit post on this post or story? And I have to constantly say to myself, Lydia, it's good enough.
Yeah.
Just hit the button.
Yes.
Like, stop overthinking it, stop overanalyzing it, just hit the button.
Yeah.
No one is reading things as closely as you think,
Right.
right?
Right. And,
They're not.
so my past life was a writing professor.
Oh,
So I have
wow.
this balance that I have to keep because in coaching, I do tell women all the time, and it's the truth. We are a nation, a culture of skimmers, right? When it
Mhm.
comes to reading, and
Yes.
people are gonna realize that social media is not a place for perfect grammar all the time, perfect punctuation. But, I balance that with the writing professor in me that's saying, "You've got to get it right. No
Oh,
run-on
I still have
punishment."
my AP English teacher from high school in my head at all
I
times.
know, it's a delicate balance,
Well,
but
and I always say, we do things with excellence,
mhm.
but not with
Yes,
perfection. There's a
exactly.
big difference.
Talk about that. I think that's
Doing
great
yes,
advice.
that is huge because so the way I launched my business in March of 2020, I literally my last day on my corporate job was March 2nd. 2
What
weeks.
timing.
2 weeks before a pandemic shut down the world, and
Yeah,
I've often literally just thanked God for his timing, because I feel like if I had known that that was coming, I may have backed out.
right.
I may have called up my boss and said, "I know I gave you my resignation, but the world's in tumultuous times. There's no way I should be starting a business right now. Like, can I retract that and let me just keep working and getting paid?"
And the
'Cause
the problem is so many people would agree with you. You're right, that's a really good excuse.
oh, totally excuse, but thank goodness I did
Yeah.
not do that, because once I had that resignation letter and that was my last day, like literally there was no plan B. I
Mhm.
was in, and I was going to be all in, and I was like, I don't care if I fall flat on my face 100 times. I am going to figure this out. I'm going to make this work. And I went from a salaried position to $0 and 0 people on an email list.
Mm,
So I'm like, I had worked with business owners, but like I didn't have an email list. I barely
right.
had a homepage of a website created. And I thought, oh, I am not going to worry about a fancy website, as much as that hurt. Like it literally hurt to not have a perfect website.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we want to have everything in excellence and people look at, but I was like, I'm not going to worry about looking perfect online. I want to show up and I want to be present. And I
Mhm.
want to do things with excellence in creating an amazing experience for the people I'm working with.
Yeah.
And so things aren't always going to be right. I'm going to have typos. I'm going to have things that don't work. But if I'm showing up with the full focus of helping them with their needs, they're going to overlook that other stuff.
Yeah,
Right. So
exactly.
that's what I did. I launched with a 5-day challenge. I had this very basic homepage, and I created a template. I use Kajabi for my business. And so they had this template where you could create an opt-in basically. And
Mhm.
it was like 5-day Banish Business Clutter challenge. Join for free and get your business systems organized. It was like so simple. And that was the start of my business. And within 6 weeks, I had my first 400 subscribers
Oh,
and my
wow.
first 95 students in my $97 course. I hit 10K in 6 weeks. And that was the beginning of it all. From that simple choice to say, I don't know what I'm teaching in this challenge. I don't even know what I don't even know what my course is yet. I did not build the course when I sold it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just said, I know that we're going to have this course. I titled it 2 days before I sold it. Came up with the title, The Digital Clutter Cure is what that first course became. And I said, I'm going to deliver it to you weekly over the next 5 to 6
Mhm.
weeks. This is the only time ever. It's going to be $97, and join me. And 95 people took that plunge with me. And now we have sold hundreds and hundreds of that course. So that's how it
So
started.
tell me practically, because I'm thinking about our listeners, and many times they get caught up in overwhelm. They
Mhm.
get caught up in overthinking something. I mean,
Yep.
there were so many potential traps there, right? So many places in naming, and
Oh,
I mean,
well, this is
all
the naming. This is the big thing that trips people up. Do you know what is so hard in our business that we have to do every day? We have to make decisions.
Mhm.
I mean, there are literally hundreds of
Tiny
decisions.
little decisions.
Tiny
Yes.
little things that you have to decide every single day. And when you launch your business, they feel like big decisions. And a
Yeah.
lot of them are, what's my business name, my domain name? What am I going to call my group? Well, what, am I going to do a course or a membership? How many modules? What are the titles? Like how am I launching this? How am I going to do my challenge? Like it is nonstop and ever ending. And if you're like me, I tend to be the over researcher, over planner,
Well, yeah, there's comfort
overthinker.
in that,
So
right?
much,
You
and you feel
feel
like
like
you're
you're doing
working.
something. Yeah, exactly. I may have experienced that before.
Because if you're writing this out on paper, you're doing, but until you say, I am hosting this challenge on this date, and here are the 4 things we're talking about, nothing's happening.
Right.
There's no motion. And
Yes.
without motion, there's no momentum. So you
Yeah.
have to learn how I saw this great quote, and it was something like, to reach your destination, you don't need to see the whole map. You just need to know the next turn.
Mm.
Something like that. And
Yeah.
that has always been hard for me, because to me, like, I don't even want to take the first turn until I know every detail of the process.
Right. Yes.
And
Yeah.
I've learned that I know where I'm heading. I have a destination in mind, and I might not know all of the pieces and all of the steps, but I can at least make this first turn. I can announce that I'm doing a free 5-day challenge. I'm going to get people to sign up, because if nobody signs up, I don't have to do the rest. But
Very
so
true.
many people map out all the steps and they forget about even in the time that you need to invite the people to
Yeah.
come. And then they've done all this work and 3 people show up.
Right.
I wasn't going to do that. I was like, I need to know that people even want to be in this challenge before and then I was like, oh, people are signing up. Okay, so let's decide what we're going to say.
So is that how you talked yourself through it? I mean, is that
I
how you
did.
got through the imposter syndrome? You
It was
said, I'm just going to throw this out there and see if anybody's interested.
Yes, it was literally one decision at a time, and one decision that would be validated at a time. So I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm going to put it out there. I literally was personally messaging people. I mean, I was only using Facebook at the time. So I
Yeah.
was like, I should probably revitalize my Instagram bio, my LinkedIn bio. So I literally just refreshed those things, put up my new business name that was on them, people that hadn't connected with me on these platforms for like 8 years, I think it had been. And they were like, "Ooh, what are you doing, Lydia?" And like that drove them to, I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing this free challenge." And so just by revitalizing a few things, personally messaging people, I think I've put together a Facebook event. Like it was so basic.
Yeah.
And that is what brought in, I think we had 250 people sign up before day 1, and then 400 by the end of the week, because now people were sharing it with their friends.
Right.
So it just grew all organically, but I just made the decision that if I can just make a decision and take action, make a decision, take action. And
Mhm.
every single step you take just led to the next one. I didn't stress over, well, I don't even know what's going to be in this course. And how am I going to put this together? I didn't decide that until I had to.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
now, I'm like, let's just all get in a Facebook group and hang out together for 4 days. And let me tell you what was so great. I learned about my audience through that experience. If we had not had that challenge and I had just made a course, if I had said, I'm going to make this course, the Digital Clutter Cure, and I made it without that ever having that group in that Facebook group, I would have not made the course people wanted to buy,
Mhm.
because I would have made it according to what I thought they wanted and needed.
Right.
Right. But because
Yeah.
we were all in that challenge, I realized what they were struggling with and what they were saying. And I mean, that is truly what decided for me what to put in the course. So thank goodness I had that
Yeah.
opportunity and just didn't guess on my own.
Right. So thinking about like the basic steps,
Mhm.
just where did you find your voice? I mean, even going back, it's once you get some momentum, once you start
Mhm.
getting some feedback, it's a little easier
It
because you're
is.
like, oh, people like me.
Yes.
But what did you do before then? I mean, did you have those moments when you were sitting in your corporate job and you were
Mm.
scared to speak up at a meeting because people might think you're stupid or they knew more than you did or,
This is
all
so
of those things?
This is a great question. So I will tell you, there was one thing that I had worked on over years of time that did prepare me for when I launched my business. And that was gaining confidence on live video.
Okay.
So in my corporate training job, I was in charge of a weekly training call with their entire consultant field.
Uh-huh.
So, when Facebook Live came out in 2016, even I was told, as a techie, I am definitely a tech geek. So I love checking out new tools. And as soon as Facebook Live came out, I instantly saw the vision of what that could be for business owners.
Uh-huh.
But I can't tell you that I had a ton of confidence in going live on video myself.
Right.
I love the tech and I love the concept, and I wanted to help other people utilize it. But me hitting that go live button, I mean, it was terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Terrifying. I've always felt like how I look, how you sound, we all have been there. But because I was in this corporate job and I had to do a training each and every week, it got me the confidence in going live. I love what you said about finding your voice. That's literally what happened, because I used to go live and I would, if you would go back and see some of the lives, the lighting's terrible, the audio's terrible. Like, we all have to go through that learning curve.
Yes.
But because I had to train every single Monday without fail, and this is why I tell people, you need to pick a place where you are teaching, training, coaching, or doing something every single week, because the more you're spitting those words out of your mouth, the more comfortable and confident you're going to be.
Yeah.
And when you find your voice, meaning you find the things that make you unique, things that you say that people resonate with, things that make people laugh and connect with you, the more you do that, the more naturally that comes without even thought.
Yes.
And that is what helped me when I launched my business, for sure. I did not have the learning curve of feeling comfortable on live video.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's that whole Malcolm Gladwell idea, 10,000 hours of practice.
Oh, I mean, it is. And the more often you do it, and the more often it doesn't go well, the faster you get to it going well. So think of embrace. That's why I always say embrace the imperfect ones, because the more you've done it imperfect, the faster the learning curve.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's almost in a way good when sometimes tech issue happens, because you have to even get comfortable with the tech problems. You have to be able to go, oh, well, tech's not working. Like I when I was in my home-based business originally, when I used to make a mistake, this is when I was in my early 20s. So I used to do live cooking demonstrations in front of people.
Oh, wow.
But I wasn't a cook.
Okay.
So I literally signed up for this job to learn how to cook for people. But it was terrifying, because I'm in this young 20-something teaching women who have been cooking probably their whole lives. So if I ever made a mistake, there was no hiding it. I would turn every color of red from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. It just was so easily embarrassed. But by doing demonstrations and messing, I finally learned that if I laugh at myself, not only do I feel more comfortable, but so do they.
Yes.
And so embracing those moments where things are not going right, no matter what you're doing, you have to find your voice and know how to handle those.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it happens to all of us. There's no way around it, but you have to get comfortable with things not being great all the time and just roll with it.
Our brains tell us it's great for everybody but me. Nobody else has made a mistake except me. And, that's what I hear women say over and over again. And I repeat it back to them and I'm like, do you really believe that? And they're like, well, no, but.
So I just delivered this amazing boot camp 2 weeks ago. This is like our 9th boot camp. I love live challenges and boot camp. So this was a boot camp, and I'm like, literally, we did 4 days in a row. There was not a flaw in the tech. I get invited to speak in someone else's boot camp, right? Now, I got to understand, I've now done probably 50 lives in a row with not one tech issue.
Yeah.
I'm live in this person's group. None of these people know me. So I now have to have a good first impression.
Yeah.
The live gets dropped 3 times. They can't hear me through like 50% of the video. It was such a terrible tech scenario. And I'm like, how is this happening? Like, I don't even understand. But like, it literally happens to any of us. And of course, it's hard because you want to do such a good job, but there are always going to be things outside of your control, and it just is what it is.
Yes,
it is what it is.
If I can tell people one thing when it comes to tech, it will go wrong.
Mm,
At some point, it
it
will
will.
go so off the rails,
It
and
will.
you just need to be prepared for that. If you make it through, then you've gotten lucky that day, but it will go off the rails.
And I think if you embrace that too, and like people want
Mhm.
to work with genuine people.
Exactly.
They don't want to
Yes.
work with perfect people. They can't relate to somebody who's perfect all the time.
Right. Yeah.
So it's important. Just be
Yeah.
yourself and relax in that. That whole fear of what others think. So we call it FOWAT, which is fear of what others think. I'm always saying, don't give in to FOWAT. Because if you're always thinking about what others think, like it will hold you back in
Yes.
so many ways. Like a lot of people I work with, like, well, I don't want to be pushy. Like,
Mhm.
like they'll do a challenge or a webinar and they're like, now I have to sell my offer. And they're like,
Yeah.
but I don't want to be pushy. I'm like, let's break that down.
Yeah. Well,
Being pushy is just fear of what others think of you. That's all that is.
yes. Yes. And
And
even if you're not in your own business, even if you're not an entrepreneur,
yeah,
I people in their positions at their jobs, I hear
yes,
women say the same thing. Well, I don't want them to think that I'm this, or I don't want them to think
right.
that I'm that. And so, yeah, that's absolutely.
No, and you're just if you're communicating in a way that's genuine and sincere
Mhm.
and open, nobody is going to think of you as a pushy person or whatever other adjective you're worried about.
Yeah.
It's just communication.
Yeah.
That's all it is,
Yeah.
and but we have to be bold. And I'm not a confrontational person. I'm an Enneagram 9. So I'm a peacemaker.
My husband is a 9, so
So
I know
yes.
you. I'm a
So
5.
okay, see, so like us nines, we don't like to rock the boat, but I have
Right.
learned that how much it doesn't serve you or others if you don't speak up.
Mhm.
And just ask questions and get to know people and the scenarios to help bridge that miscommunication or whatever. So but it is all a process. I mean, I'm often amazed that I can even do what I do today, knowing how insecure I was of myself through most of my life. So if this can happen for me, I know it can happen for others. And I'm sure you have worked with many people and you've seen transformations in this
Oh,
area.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's my favorite,
I
just
love it.
getting to watch people move forward. If you had just maybe one piece of advice for somebody who is still in that space where they're
Mhm.
scared to move forward, they're scared to even speak up,
Yep.
what advice would you give them?
So I have a little saying that I tell myself all the time, and it's this: indecisiveness is the enemy. Decide and do, because motion leads to momentum. So if you're ever in one of those moments where you're like, "Ugh, I don't know what to do. Should I do? Should I post? Should I launch? Should I?" I just want you to know that you making decisions is so important, and don't make decisions based on, is this going to work? Is this going to be successful?
Yeah.
Think of decisions as, I'm going to earn or I'm going to learn, right?
Okay.
Usually you'll do both,
Yes.
okay? But learning is all part of the process, and you'll never truly learn what you need professionally, personally,
Mhm.
unless you put yourself out there, unless you get out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
So just make the decision and adapt and embrace the thought that even if this doesn't get to the exact thing I'm wanting, I'm going to learn what worked, what didn't work. I'm going to learn about my audience. I'm going to learn about this situation so that the next decision I make, I have more. I
Yeah.
know more. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so every decision just leads to the next decision. And it always helps to have even the failures, because now you know what decision to make forward.
Right. Yeah, so failure isn't failure at all, it's just a stepping
No,
stone.
just a stepping stone to get to what it is you want. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lydia. I have
Yes.
really enjoyed this.
Well, thanks
I
for having me.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. I know our listeners have as well. So if people are looking to find you, maybe
Mhm.
now they're deciding, maybe I can step out and be an entrepreneur. Where
Yes.
can they find you?
So definitely check out, we have many resources at banishbusinessclutter.com. And our podcast is called Launch Perspective. So if you go to launchperspective.com, you'll see a lot of different episodes that do talk about this very similar subject.
Awesome.
Also details of, different strategies that we've learned along the way for entrepreneurs. So both of those places will be great resources.
Great. Okay. And if you're looking for coaching to get through your imposter syndrome, your perfectionism, you can find me at sonyagreencoaching.com or on Instagram at Sonya_green coaching. All
Perfect.
right. Thanks, Lydia.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk to you all next week.